So that's the story. As my mom's story finally ended, I could only stare at her blankly from across the kitchen table, as if I had just awoken from a horrible nightmare. I had actually stopped listening to her a while ago, overcome as my own memories filled in the blanks. Because now, prompted by my mother's story, at long last, I remember. I could remember so clearly that I didn't understand how I could have forgotten it to begin with. Shinatsu, I know her. We were friends. We used to play together almost every day. Oh, old mom voice. That's right. My mom nodded her head warily. Although the time you spent together wasn't very long, she was your closest friend. The two of you were joined at the hip. You went everywhere together, did everything together. It was quite a sight to behold. My mother smiled to herself as she spoke, indulged in nostalgia. Your father always used to tease you, asking when your marriage ceremony was going to take place. And you would get mad, Heidi. You hit him a few times, but you were too young to really hurt him. Your father just laughed. He always was such a lively person. He could never stop smiling, right up until he died. My mother's smile faded as I spoke those unnecessary words. That's right, he died, and on your birthday at that. It was a terrible shock, perhaps even more so than falling into the river. That's what the doctors said when you were in the hospital. They said it must have been the news about your father coupled with the stress of almost drowning that wiped your memories. They called it an act of self-preservation, forgetting in order to protect yourself. And Shinatsu? Why did I forget her too? Her too. I brought her up now and then, but the look she gave me was so blank that I knew you couldn't remember her. Not a single thing. It was mortifying, but perhaps it was a good thing. You really had to deal with the loss of your father. Adding more misery onto that would have been cruel. So, Shinatsu, my fingers clenched into fists. I don't want to ask this question, but I have to. I've come so far now, and this is the very last piece of the puzzle. I think I have a good idea of what happened already, but I want to hear it from my mother's lips first. No matter how painful it is, I need to know the truth. What happened to Shinatsu? My mother froze for a second, dreading the moment that this question would arise. She cared for you so much, Hidi. When you ran away, she ran after you. She tried to stop you, but when you fell into the river, My mother choked on her own words. She was always such a good swimmer. Her parents said she was like a mermaid. Okay, this is so serious, but I have to stop for a minute because one of you commenters was like, guessed she was a mermaid, and that's kind of ironic. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to this extremely heartbreaking story now. She would always swim in that river, even though the sign said not to. But it never seemed to bother Shinatsu, at least not until that day. So, she drowned? Mom nodded. That's right. Shinatsu was able to save you, but towing you back to the shore must have been too much for her small body. I managed to rescue her from the river, but it was no good. She had swallowed too much water. No matter what I did, she just didn't wake up. I silently stared at my mother, unwilling to accept what she just said. Shinatsu Misaki, my best friend, died. She died in order to save me. She towed me back to the shore, depleting the entirety of her energy until she could no longer keep afloat. She died because I tried to kill myself. The gravity of what happened weighed down on me heavily. In one day, I killed two of the people closest to me. I killed two good, kind, caring people, all because of my own selfish and impatient personality. But it's not just that. She died trying to save me, and I forgot about her. I completely forgot about her sacrifice, because that's why she came back to me after all these years. As I returned to the scene of her death, she wanted to see me one last time, to say goodbye to the boy who killed her. Not only did she die for me, she revived for my sake too. Throughout her entire life, and even after her death, I've been an insurmountable burden to her. I kept her from passing on, kept her from overseeing her family from above. I've kept her chained to this planet ever since that day. And now, after all this time, she will finally know peace. Son of a bitch. You know, guys, I mean, I'm all for a visual novel that has a sad side, but I don't see how this visual novel really has a happy ending, so man alive. Returning once again to the scene of so much pain and joy, I crept out of the house and over to Shinatsu's bridge. Although I had missed her so frequently, and logically she shouldn't have been there, I knew I'd find her here tonight. So you're here again, huh? Oh, hello, Hideki-kun. Shinatsu turned to face me, wearing a smile without a hint of sadness. Despite our recent encounters, all ending badly, Shinatsu seemed as joyful and kind as ever. She greeted me without hesitation, smiled happily, and acted like her old self. But something was amiss. Although she wore a smile, Shinatsu's pale skin looked even lighter than usual. In fact, it looked downright transparent, like a glass window. I could see right through her head, as though she wasn't even there. And at that moment, I knew it was wrong. Shinatsu's time is finally up. Her visage faded in and out, lacking the detail she once possessed. Her body pulsed. I could see her energy waning each time fearing it might be the last. I wonder if it hurts. Residing in this world of the living as a ghost, with no flesh and body, to keep you anchored to reality, it must be painful. And yet, every moment until this point, she struggled against her very nature, just so she could spend time with me. She did it all for me, and that's unforgivable. Hideki-kun? Shinatsu blinked, visibly surprised by what she had heard. All of the things I could have said to her, that had to be one of the most unexpected. To the ethereally beautiful Shinatsu Misaki, who was dying for the second time, it didn't show. I didn't show compassion, but rather annoyance. What is it, Hideki-kun? You look sad. Of course I'm sad. How could I not be sad given what happened? I forgot all about you. You might have forgotten me, but it was not deliberate. That doesn't matter. I forgot you. You sacrificed so much for me, and I was a horrible friend. I could hardly call you could hardly call me a friend at all, and yet you gave up your life for me. You gave up your life and then your afterlife too. I don't deserve it. I can't stand it. You didn't need to sacrifice so much for me. You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have died. I didn't want you to die. It took me a few moments before I realized I was crying. Hideki-kun. Shinatsu approached me with faltering steps, like a newborn deer. It seems even walking is a chore for her now, as though the impact of her feet pressing against the ground will cause even more of her body to fragment. Even now, she's still trying so hard. She's trying so hard for me. Why? Why what? Why did you wait here for me? I don't understand. I choked on my tears, barely able to speak coherently. Shinatsu surveyed me, frowned, and then tilted her head to one side, as though she was thinking deeply. I don't entirely understand it either. Becoming a ghost wasn't a conscious decision that I made. It just kind of happened. One moment I was drowning, and then the next, I'm not sure. I remember praying as I went under, I hope Hideki-kun is okay. I want to make sure he's okay. That was when I saw a light. It was soft and warm. Even though the river was horribly cold, I went towards it. Then, when I opened my eyes, I was sitting by the riverbank, and you were lying there. Your eyes were closed, and your body was cold, and yet I was the one who was dead. I remember that. I saw you leaning over me. You told me it would be better if I forgot everything. That's right, I did. I thought you would be happier that way, but even though I wanted what was best for you, I was selfish. I can't stand being forgotten. And that was why I couldn't pass on, because contrary to what I said, I wanted you to remember me. I didn't want to upset you, so I tried to keep my distance, but at the same time, I couldn't stop thinking about you. I mean, I did die because of you, Hideki-kun. It wasn't as though I was hoping for some kind of reward, but maybe I did want you to recognize how hard I worked. Shinatsu smiled teasingly, carefully not to sound serious, as she laid blame for her death. So do you understand now? I'm not a good person. I wasn't waiting for your sake. I was waiting for mine. It was because, deep down inside, I really did want to be acknowledged. I wanted my death to mean something, and I wanted to see you one last time. Though we only knew each other for a short time, I really did like you, Hideki-kun. Shinatsu's form continued to grow fainter and fainter. I could still see her smile, but even that was fading. But now that I've finally gotten to see you again, I must say goodbye. Goodbye? That's right. You finally remembered me, so now I have no reason to remain behind. Faint though it may be, Shinatsu's smile looked both soft and peaceful. Thank you, Hideki-kun. I am really glad that I was able to see you again. I was so overjoyed when I first saw you, and yet I was also scared. I was scared that my existence would just unsettle you. That's why I tried to keep my distance. And yet, even after I ran away, you tried to find me. And after you did, because now I can finally rest in peace. Shinatsu sounds so calm, but I can't accept this. It just doesn't seem fair. Why should she look so tenderly resigned to death, when this was all because of my foolish actions? Why doesn't she resent me? If I were Shinatsu, I know I would. But I don't want you to go. Hideki-kun, you might be at peace, but I don't know what to do anymore. How can I keep going on, knowing that a good person, a kind, gentle, caring girl died on my behalf? You're going to disappear, and I'm going to stay behind, and it just doesn't seem fair. You're right. It isn't fair. But life rarely is. I've had enough time to realize that. Shinatsu, don't worry, and don't cry for me either. Shinatsu took another trembling step towards me, almost stumbling as she did. She slowly brought one hand to my face, trying to wipe away my tears, but her hand passed straight through me. Shinatsu, I saved you because I wanted to. I did it because I liked you. So don't worry, I don't resent you. Shinatsu looked so small, so fragile standing there on the bridge. The moonlight was so bright that it seemed to consume her, wiping the very last trace of Shinatsu Misaki clean from the earth. Even so, she remained firm, not budging an inch. Shinatsu has always been a strong-willed person, despite her quiet nature. I know that better than anyone. Shinatsu doesn't give up. She isn't a quitter. That's why she was able to hang on, even when the breath was choked out of her and her heart stopped beating. She's strong, far stronger than me. Even now, as she's about to die yet again, I'm the one crying, not her. I must look so stupid. I don't think you look stupid. In fact, I'm flattered that you care so deeply for me, Hideki-kun. I'd make a pretty bad lead in a romance drama, wouldn't I? Weeping like that. Maybe not. Women like sensitive men, or at least I do. Shinatsu. I felt my cheeks burn in response to her words. I looked away, trying to hide my embarrassment. You know, I think I might have had some of a crush on you. I think I might have had something of a crush on you when I was little, Hideki-kun. You were my first love. I remained silent, unsure of what to say. In any other situation, I would be ecstatic to hear those words. But right now, here, they sounded like the last confession of someone who accepted their fate. If this really was our final goodbye, then I should be honest with her too. I don't want to end this strange, fantastical night with any regrets. I think I had a crush on you too, Shinatsu. Maybe I still do. Just a little bit. You do? That's right. I think you're beautiful. But more than that, you're strong and brave, and you never give up. I admire you, Shinatsu, and I've done so from the moment I met you. When I was a kid, I looked up to you, and I remember that feeling years later, despite my failure to remember you. I really do love you, Shinatsu, and I always will. Hideki-kun, Shinatsu's voice wavered, not because of her fading existence, but because of the overpowering emotion flowing through her. I love you too. I've felt that way since the moment we first met. I tried to take Shinatsu in my arms, but of course, that proved impossible. Without a physical body to grab, my arms went right through her. That must be why she wouldn't let me hold her hand. She knew this would happen because she knew how I would react. I would have been terrified back then, but not anymore. Even though I can't touch her, even though I can't hold her, even though no matter what form they take, the dead are dead, and they cannot ever truly reunite with the living. This feels right. This has to be right, because I love her. I lowered my head, and Shinatsu raised hers to meet mine. I want to hold her hand, I want to stroke her hair, I want to kiss her lips, but it's far too late for that now. This is all I can do. Holy shit! Oh! Good damn thing there's no freaking webcam! Oh! I brought my own lips to meet the ghostly impression of Shinatsu's. I couldn't really feel anything, other than a slight touch of cold air. The motion was so... Oh, I don't know what that word is. Chassé. It could not be called even a kiss. Even 4th graders would be more daring. But to me, it was precious, nonetheless. This is my precious final moment with Shinatsu Misaki, the fiery young girl who stole my heart, and consequently lost the use of her own. Oh, that line. That line. I closed my eyes, vividly imagining that I really was holding Shinatsu in my arms, feeling her lips against mine. Shinatsu? But when I finally opened my eyes, I was all alone. Holy oh my god! Oh, okay. My heart is broken. My nose is running, and I was not expecting this visual. Boy, I'm surprised because I never would have thought a visual novel could actually bring much emotion out of me. And I think in normal circumstances, if I was playing this by myself, I don't think it would. But when you're reading a visual novel like this, you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of the characters you're reading. So I want to try to portray that emotion that Hideki is like feeling, like when he's like crying out to her, and like when he's crying, and then all of a sudden it starts getting me emotional in that moment. And frick me, I am no longer a man. I need to do something, man. I need to go fight a bear, or I don't know, chop wood with my bare hands. God. Anyway, wonderful visual novel. That story was very nice. No one but you. So anyway, guys, that was No One But You. A great game, and a game that really did not cost much money, and I think could have cost more for the content I just got out of that. Seeing as I still have like 3 or 4 other like storylines I could play, I just find it awesome how this has gone. So as of right now, guys, I don't have any plans to play, or at least I'm gonna play them. I don't know if I don't have any other plans to record any of the other routes. If there's a massive outcry and you guys want to see one more route, let me know in the comments below, and let me know who you'd really like to see the most. I might be willing to do one more, but I also really want you guys to check out this game for yourself and play through some of the ones you want to see, because it is a great game and you guys should really support it. But since this series was decent in length, I think probably I recorded this last session in bulk, so it's probably gonna be something like 14, maybe 15 episodes. I think that's pretty good length, so maybe we'll do one more. Anyway, I'm blabbering now. Love this visual novel. It was great. Give this visual novel some support and love, because I had an absolute blast. But anyway, guys, I've been Fiddle Ferret. Let me know if you really want to see something else. Other than that, I think we might move on to a new visual novel to start with next. But anyway, guys, we bid adieu to Shinatsu and No One But You. Anyway, guys, I've been Fiddle Ferret, and I will see you back on the prowl next time. Bye-bye!